Welcome to episode 35 of Discovering Nagasaki from Local. My name is Chad. In my ongoing weekly vlogs, you can experience everyday life in this scenic and fascinating part of Japan. This week, only Daniel Hazen and Kathy Garrett were able to correctly answer both of last week's vlog questions. Thank you for answering my challenging questions. The first question from last week was, which pots had only one seed in them? The answer is the zucchini seedling pots. The second question from last week was, which two roads border the Uguisuya Ryokan? The answer is Route 57 and Route 251. During the past week, a white flower started blooming in Omura, Yuki Yanagi, or snow willows. In addition, two other types of flowers have been in bloom since January, suisen or narcissus, and rapasuisen or daffodils. And now for this week's crash course in kanji root particles. Group V kanji root particles include right, have, linen, reality, stable, friend, history, grow late, big, concealed, dog, recover, heaven, from heaven, husband, difficult, choice, center, pinch, document, fact, and long life. I will cover Group W kanji root particles next week. Anyone who has an interest in Japanese food, fine arts, or martial arts will benefit from a basic knowledge of kanji. Please support this vlog channel by clicking on the subscribe button below, ringing the adjacent bell for update notifications, and clicking the thumbs up button. In today's vlog, I will show you how I cook a popular dish in Japan, jagaimo omoretto, or potato and hamburger omelette. I will also give you a short tour of a blacksmith factory in Matsubara, where two friends of mine make handmade knives and tools. Let's get started. To cook 3 servings of jagaimo omoretto, I will use 180 grams of hamburger, 3 eggs, and from our garden, 6 small potatoes, 1 medium-sized onion, and a side dish of broccoli. I will also use some ketchup, olive oil, salt, and black pepper. First, I'll put a steaming basket full of broccoli in a pot of water. I'll put this pot on the stove on a low heat and then start steaming the broccoli. Now I'll turn on the stove under this second pot of water. I'll use this pot to boil potatoes. I will now cut up the potatoes that I just peeled. This is the knife that I usually use in my cooking demos. It's a Damascus kitchen knife, and today, in my second B-roll, I will show you where and how it was made. These are small and slippery potatoes, and that makes them tricky to cut up with a sharp blade like this one. Now I'll put these potatoes into the pot of water on the stove. Oh, I dropped one. Now that these vegetables are on the boil, I will cut up the onion that I peeled earlier. These onions don't need to be cut up particular shape because they're going to be fried anyways. Today I'll use this small frying pan to fry the onions and hamburger. I'm using a little water in the frying pan to prevent the onions from burning. It will only take a couple of minutes of heating to get the job done. The broccoli and potatoes are going to take at least 10 more minutes on the stove before they're ready. I'll just check and see how soft the potatoes and broccoli are with a fork. They're not ready yet, but the onions are. Now I'll add the hamburger to the frying pan and continue frying the mixture. When the water evaporates, I will add a little more. I don't want anything to burn. Now that everything is well cooked, I'll turn off all of the stove burners and remove the lids. I will isolate the cooked potatoes by using this colander in the sink. It's hard to see with all this steam. Now I'll mash up these potatoes in the pot that I boiled them in. This is an interesting mini masher that I bought locally. Not the best design, but it does the job. On top of these mashed potatoes, I will add the hamburger and onions from the frying pan. Now, I will add exactly 5 tablespoons of ketchup to the mixture. Followed by a large pinch of salt and a few shakes of pepper. The next thing that I have to make is the egg covering for this dish. I've already added a pinch of salt and a pinch of sugar to this mixed egg, and now I'll add the mixture to this fry pan that has some olive oil on it. I'm using a low heat to prevent the egg from sticking to the fry pan. You won't need any more heat than that. Now I'll add about a third of the potato filling on top of the egg I just fried, and carefully fold the egg layer over the filling using a spatula. It's actually not that hard to do if you add salt and sugar to the egg. Voila! Jagaimo omoretto with a side dish of broccoli. It's easy to make and it's delicious. Try it yourself and see. I'm now in front of Tanaka-san's blacksmith factory in Matsubara, on the north side of Omura. This is their new sign along Route 34. 500 years ago, a blacksmith shop was set up on this location where there used to be a Shinto shrine, and the Tanaka family had been crafting knives and tools here for 5 generations. Behind this sign is a log cabin showroom of their knives and tools. The main factory is straight ahead and behind that red tractor. First, I'm going to give you a brief look around their log cabin showroom. Down here on the right is a display showing the wide variety of knives and tools they make here. Everything from kitchen knives to knives for sashimi and soba. Here are many of their hand sickles. You can get a closer look at many of these knives on the shelves and counters of this showroom. Here are some large kitchen knives on display. These knives have various handles and blades. In this plexiglass case are 2 of their premium To-Iro Damascus-bladed knives. These long knives over here are specialty sashimi knives for cutting fish, and on the right side of this brochure are some of their larger chopping knives. On these shelves over here are many of their regular kitchen knives. As you can see, they come in many different sizes and shapes. They're all very sharp, and each one of them is made to accommodate a specific task and taste. The Japanese proverb Ju Nin To Iro means 10 people, 10 colors in English. That's where the name To Iro comes from. On this shelf are some of the garden shears they make here. And above you can see some of the larger pruning shears they make by hand. On the bottom shelf are some samples of their small sickles, hoes, and shears. This is the entrance to their home in Matsubara, right beside the blacksmith factory. Now I'll take you on a short tour of their factory and show you how they actually make knife blades here. Inside you can see various machines for hammering, cutting, and grinding steel. And here are some of the recently made knife blades. These ones still need to be sharpened, polished, and inserted into their respective handles. In the distance, you can hear and see Katsuto Tanaka hammering some blades with his automated hammer. He was just hammering a batch of hand sickles with this machine. The kiln he uses for forging steel is running at about 1100 degrees Celsius right now. In order to make these Japanese knives, Katsuto uses a traditional technique which is also used to make Japanese swords. First he will hammer a thick and very hot slab of soft steel on the hammering machine. Once it's the right thickness, he will use a powerful steel press to create a deep divot in the bar, just like this. Then, while it is still hot, Katsuto will insert a wedge of hardened steel into this divot. Hammered into place, covered with a secret mixture of metals, and then stick it back in the kiln. When the bar is hot enough, he will begin to flatten this section of steel out. And then once it is the right size and thickness, he will cut off a predetermined length using a steel press. Just like that. Next, Katsuto will take out this short section of heated steel and create a handle insert. He taps the steel on one side and then uses the hammer to flatten and draw it out. This thin section will be used to secure the blade to its handle. The knife has to be repeatedly heated during the process of hammering. After this, the steel has to be hammered over and over again to flatten it out and forge the two types of steel into a blade that retains a sharp edge and is also flexible. Each blade takes a long time to make, and Mr. Tanaka has been doing this for many decades. Once the blade has been sufficiently flattened out with the automated hammer, Katsuto will use the steel press to cut the blade to size. He has a precise die press for each of the many blades he makes. In another part of their factory, Katsuto's son, Hiroki, is sharpening one of their knives on a rotating circular stone. He uses a wooden brace to secure the blade and a cushioned perch to do his work. Right now, Hiroki is using a rougher stone wheel to start the sharpening. Then he has to use finer and finer stone wheels to complete the process. Both Katsuto and Hiroki are craftsmen. And now for this week's challenging questions. First, how many pots and pans did I use on the stove for today's cooking demo? Second, what does the letter S stand for on Tanaka-san's sign? Be the first to correctly answer both of these questions in the comments section below. I will announce the first 3 people who do so at the beginning of episode 36. You can find a complete list of the contents of my vlog episodes on the Facebook link listed below. and you can watch all of my vlog episodes on the online YouTube playlist. Today's B-roll involved cooking, so in episode 36 my B-roll will involve baking. See you next week.